you staking too much when you're trading on Betfair? What stakes should you use when you're trading on Betfair? Should you use big stakes? Should you keep your stakes small? What actually are the big stakes and what are the small stakes? This is going to be an interactive video where we're going to establish the exact stakes that you, yes you, should be trading with, and we're going to do this using the Goldilocks method. This short video could make a huge difference to your trading. Strap yourself in, go grab a nice cold beer, and let's get into it. So the first question to ask is, what are the big stakes? I often get conflicting emails from people who watch videos on this very channel saying that the £100 stakes we often use in the demonstrations are just too big for them, whilst I get others, often the crypto guys, telling me that these tiny stakes doesn't make sports trading worth it for them. Okay, so you can obviously see there is the definition of what big stakes are is pretty much down to perspective and pretty much down to the individual. What is big to me or you might be tiny to someone else. And on this channel, as mentioned, we try to keep a happy medium of using £100 stakes for the demonstrations, but of course it doesn't keep everyone happy. But really, it's not about what everyone else is staking. It is about what you should be staking and what you should be risking on each trade. And this is only something that you can answer. Okay, now you first need to establish if the stakes you're using are too high. Now if you're trading with stakes that are too high for you, you're often going to have symptoms like this. It's often going to lead to sweaty palms. Your losing is going to lead to anger. Okay, have you had a trade where you've lost and you've been angry about it? Probably your stakes were too high and you should lower your stakes. Also, if you're staking too high, losing is going to affect your mood. Now, no one likes to lose. No one enjoys losing, but it shouldn't affect your mood in an hour or so after the trade is done. Okay, if you're in a trade, you've lost, it shouldn't affect your mood. In the moment, yeah, you might be angry. You might say a swear word or two, but in an hour or so, if you're still thinking about it, and if your mood is affected and down because of it, then probably you're staking too high. And this is another big symptom is this one is thinking about a loss heading into the next day or more. Okay, so if you're still thinking about the money you lost on a certain trade by the next day, you were staking way too high. If you're still thinking about a loss you've had a few weeks ago or something, then clearly that was money you could not afford. And the faster you lower your stakes into a more comfortable zone, a Goldilocks zone, as you're going to see very soon, then the better for you. You're not going to have the sweaty palms when you're trading. You're not going to get angry after a losing trading session. It's not going to affect your mood later on when you're around family and friends, and you're not going to think about it the next day. If you're in the comfortable staking zone, the next day is almost a complete reset. You can't even remember the losses you took. You just keep plugging away and pushing forward. And at the same time, you don't want to stake too low, because if you stake too low, then the eventual profits that you might make, they just might not be worth your time if you're staking too low. And then at the same time, you just might not care enough. And then that can lead to bad trading and unproductive trading. And you just don't improve as a trader going forwards if you don't care about the money at all. Okay, so we want to do this. We want to find a Goldilocks zone. Okay, we don't want to stake too high, we don't want to stake too low. We want to stake just right. Okay, we want to stake with money that we care about and that is going to be worth us winning, but we don't want to stake too high because we don't want to care too much to the point where it's going to make us angry and it's going to affect our mood later on. Okay, so that is the Goldilocks zone, and as mentioned, everyone's stakes are going to be different, and it's all about trying to find your own Goldilocks zone. There is no definitive number. Everyone is different. £100 stakes, to some it's too high, to others it's too low. Anyway, follow along with the exercise we're about to do. As I said, this is an interactive video, and if you follow along with this, you might be able to find your Goldilocks zone and your staking size that you are comfortable with moving forward. Let's get into it. But before we do, I would really love it if you could click the like button to support the channel. We make these videos for free for your education. All we ask for in return is you click the like button to support us. That's it. Okay, let's get into the Goldilocks method and you can find your ideal staking size. So let's illustrate this and ignore the match. This is not the important part of this. What we're going to do is we're just going to put some bets into the market and you're going to look at the red screen and you're going to find your own comfort zone, your own kind of Goldilocks zone, okay, where you're making enough profit but it's not hurting you, okay? And it's going to be different for everyone. There's no correct answer to this. So let's just take a look. If we were to put £1 into the market on this bet or this trade, how would you feel if you lost £1 at the end of this? I think most people watching this video would be pretty relaxed if they put £1 in the market and they lost it. I think no one's having a sleepless night about that. No one's thinking about this the next day and it's not affecting your mood later on. Okay, now let's up that to £10. Concentrate on the red amount. Don't think about the profit, the red amount. How would you feel you put £10 in the market on this and you lost the full £10? Would it bother you? Would it trouble you later on? Would you be annoyed? Would you get angry? These are all questions you have to ask yourself, okay? Because that's the thing. When you start to get angry, that's another sign that you're staking too much, all right? So if you lost this £10, would you still be thinking about that £10 the next day? Would you? You can answer that. Now, £20. How would you feel about that? £20 in the market, you lose it. How would you feel? Would that bother you later on? £20. Let's up it now to £50. This is where I think we're starting to get a bit more real for a lot of people. Judging by the emails, okay? I get emails from people who tell me that they're happy dropping 4 figures on a bet or a trade, and then I get some that are talking about how £10 or £20 is big stakes to them. So £50, if you put £50 in the market and you lost that full £50, would that affect your mood later on? Is it something you'd be thinking about later on? And would you still be thinking about it at least 24 hours after? Okay, that's a question to ask. And now if we get into the £100, look at that £100. How would you feel you put £100 into the market and you lost the full £100? Is that something you could easily brush off? Is it something that would get to you later on? Okay, would you be throwing stuff around the room or something like that? Because these are all signs that you're staking too much. Once it gets to that point where you care too much about the money, you're not going to be able to trade to your very best because you're just going to be too scared about losing the money. And you know from your previous experience how that's going to affect you later on. You put £100 in the market, £100 you don't really want to lose, then you lose it. Your mood's affected later on. It's going to affect your future trades if you want to do it, but it's also going to affect your relationships and just your day-to-day life. And that's exactly what we're not trying to do here. Okay, you want to be in a position where you put £100 in the market, and if you lose it, yeah, it's your right to be a little bit annoyed. We're not going to be happy about losing a trade, but you want to be at that point where in an hour you've forgotten it. It's just nothing. It's nothing to you, that £100. The same way if you put £1 in, okay, think about the feeling with that. If you put £1 in the market and it lost, in an hour from now, are you going to be thinking about that pound? If you put £100 in the market and it lost, in an hour from now, how are you going to be feeling about that? And then if you're watching this and you're like, yeah, £100 wouldn't bother me, well then let's up it, £500. If you put £500 in the market, you lost it, in an hour from now, are you still thinking about that £500? Is it still bothering you? Are you trying to win that £500 back? These are all red flags. These are all warning signs that you're staking too much. And I know some people, £500 in one trade and it lost, They would be devastated. This would probably trouble them for days. Okay, like I said, everyone's different. There are some people could throw 500 in the market, loses, oh well, they've moved on to the next trade in an hour. Okay, and so obviously it all depends. And then we get out to 1,000. You put £1,000 into the market and it loses, and you lose the full £1,000. How are you going to feel in 24 hours from now? Probably most of us in an hour, still going to annoy us, but if you're still bothered by that, 24 hours from now, £1,000 is too much. Okay, and so you need to lower it, and then you just need to find your Goldilocks zone. Okay, we could start to really look at these red screens, and £5,000, how would you feel about that, about losing that? Probably not good for most people watching. And this is just going by the emails and the data that we've received on how many on the type of stakes that most of you like to use. Okay, and the warm point seems to be just in the 3-figure stakes, with a few using 4 figures and all that sort of thing. But let's just go back. So let's just go back, and then we can tick it down, and you can find your comfort zone, your Goldilocks zone. £100. How do you feel about that if you were to lose that in one single trade today? £50. Can you lose that and feel like, yeah, it's not going to bother me tomorrow, it's not going to keep me up at night? Only you can decide. Only you can decide. And this is a good exercise, watching this video, getting a good feel for it, and then asking yourself honestly, because as soon as you feel that any sort of resistance or nervousness about the red figures, it's a red flag and it's too much. You need to lower it, and you just need to lower your stakes, and lower your stakes to the point where it doesn't make any difference to you. And I say this again, most of you watching this, £1 in the market, if you lose that £1, I don't even think you remember it this time tomorrow. And you need, if you want to be risking £100, then you need to be in that same position where you put £100 in. Will you remember it this time tomorrow if you've lost that £100? That's the level that you want to try and get to if you want to be using £100 stakes, because it's such a big mental battle as well. I know loads of people trade with £10 stakes, they're fine. They suddenly up the stakes to £100, suddenly their trading goes all over the place, and it's all a mental battle because they're not making the same decision making as they would do at the lower stakes. So that's the true test. £1 most of us can easily afford. 5s, 10s, if that still bothers you, whatever amount you're looking at, if it's still going to bother you in 24 hours from now, it's too much. Lower your stake. Lower your stake. There's nothing wrong with lowering your stake, because then you can also build it back up in the future. Okay, so neat little exercise. You could rewatch this video again and just be honest with yourself as you're looking at those red figures about what you're truly comfortable with. Anyway, I hope that helped and it was useful, and you have a better idea now of what stakes that you're comfortable with using going forwards. And if you're interested in seeing trading strategies being demonstrated, then the video on the screen right now will be well worth a watch. We've got some real life trading demonstrations in that exact video. So click on that video and I will see you in the next video.